Hi, I'm Grace Kelmer back with another episode of Mendel Center Connections. The Monday before each of our drive-in live concerts, I'm featuring interviews with the artists. And this week is the artist performing on August 22nd. You'll hear them in reverse order. This episode is a little longer than normal. Bryan and I had such a great chat, we just didn't want to stop. So you'll hear that interview first, and Bryan performs this Saturday at 5 p.m. Then you'll hear from Leslie Sypian of the Sypian Family Band. They perform at 4 p.m. And finally, I talked to Dan Maxon, and he will perform at 3 p.m. Tickets are still available now at themendelcenter.com, where there is also more information about what we're doing to ensure a safe and fun return to live performances. And now, here are the interviews. I am here with Bryan Lubeck, who you probably know for his Spanish guitar and urban grooves, and he will be closing out our second drive-in live concert this Saturday, August 22nd. And I am so happy to steal a couple minutes from him today. He's coming to us from his home studio. So Bryan, good to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, good to see you, Grace. I'm glad you could join me in my studio. It's been really lonely here in like the last 4 months. I mean, I've done a lot of, live streams and some interviews, and, mainly we've been working on the new album, which had just finished the studio part of the recording. We were into production and editing when the pandemic hit, so we got really lucky there. But yeah, I have had no musicians other than me playing drums and guitars and all of that stuff. It'll be good to get back to that at some point.
Definitely. Yeah, you have for sure a much more interesting background than I do here in the office, but I suppose that's fitting. And it's sad to not have that in-person collaboration right now. But we're still keeping that on the horizon and looking forward to when we can get back to that in a more traditional way.
Well, I love the fact that, rather than, and this is what I like about the Mendel Center and the staff and you, is rather than like, oh, let's wait and see what's going to happen because nobody's got a crystal ball, you all go, okay, how can we figure this out and keep everybody safe and keep live music going? So I can't thank you enough. I mean, the thing that sort of struck me immediately, like I had not planned on doing a bunch of live performances when the pandemic hit because I'm in new album mode. I was going to do a few, but not a ton. And the thing that, strikes me is really musicians and event people like yourself are sort of the canaries in the cage when things like this happen. And, immediately, it's not like it tailed off. Like when the economy, went sort of south, it was tough on musicians and I think event people in general, but certainly musicians. I think it was 2008. It was a gradual decline and you could feel it and it was not comfortable, but it wasn't like, hey, on Tuesday, everybody's going to stop doing stuff. Like this is unprecedented. So, I know from my perspective and from all the other musicians' perspective, we are eager to get in front of the audience, not because of pay, but because we would be doing this whether, don't don't remember this, but we would do this whether we were being paid or not. We have a passion for it, and we just want to get back to bringing music to people to make them happy. And you guys do a great job of bringing music to people and providing a venue for that, and you've been so creative to come up with this. So from myself and the rest of the musicians, we really appreciate you innovating like this.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say. It's been something that we've been really intentional about doing to not just stick our heads in the sand. So thank you for coming along on this journey of innovation and creative solutions with us. And yeah, we do. These are all interim measures, and but maybe something like this outdoor drive-in concert is something that we keep around, even when it's not our only option. So it's hard to say, but for now, it's something exciting that we're experimenting with, and we're thrilled to have you part of it.
Well, I think one of the things that I've noticed about, I might have a few years under my belt, but a lot of folks, don't remember because it was 12 years ago. If you think about it, even with the last huge economy downturn, a lot of people that are alive now and in the workforce weren't in the workforce. So it wasn't something where they go, oh, this happened and we somehow got through it. Same thing with some of the other economic crashes that we've had over the last 30 or 40 years. And before that, World War II and things like that. And I think people forget, that we do innovate through things and we come through them. And what's amazing is when those things happen, because humans naturally try to figure things out and innovate, brand new things come to light, new ways of doing things, new technologies, new whatever. So I think this is, as much as this is a difficult time for people, there's also a perspective I think we should have where it is a time to innovate and watch what we as a human race can do to come together, and find ways to still stay connected and innovate.
Mm-hmm. Can't agree more. One of the things that's been keeping you busy, as you mentioned a little bit, has been that you've been interviewing some of your own musical idols like Seal and Sheryl Crow and Lindsey
Right.
Buckingham and a Fleetwood Mac. And it's a really impressive list, and that's only a partial list. Is that a theme that you found as you're talking to them as well, or what has been the sense that you get from those other artists?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, so my silver lining, and I think maybe some of us, I think all of us will find a silver lining. Doesn't mean that there's not, awful stuff that's happening too, but I think we will all find a silver lining. For some, it may be, gosh, I was so busy running kids around to activities that I didn't interact with my kids, right? And now I have to, and this is great, or whatever that thing is. I know for me, I found that I don't need to do certain things that I thought were essential, because they were taken off the plate. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really miss that. But, like I said, with innovation, there is a tech company that also innovated, that decided to, right out of the gate, go, look, we can't meet our customers live. So how do we engage with our customers? Because business, everything is relationship, and so they thought of like, hey, let's do a company pitch, but also provide back to our customers something really special, and musical. So they came up with this idea to hire these incredible artists who now aren't on the road, right? They've got nothing to do. And more importantly, their tour managers, their sound techs, their guitar techs are also out of a job. It's not just the individual artist, right? So so they came up with this idea of like, we'll do kind of a company interview and maybe interview a customer for 10 or 15 minutes. And then for the next 45 minutes, we'll have Bryan Lubeck come on and interview these artists. And like you said, Sheryl Crow, John Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls, Seal, Kenny Loggins, Lindsey Buckingham. In 2 days, it will be Daryl Hall, which so for me, if somebody would have said to me, Bryan, hey, it's February, in about 3 months, you're going to be interviewing Grammy Award winners, your guitar idols, your people that you never thought you would get to interact with, even at my level where I'm on the radio, but there's a lot of us on the radio, right? And then there's this stratosphere. I've been able to interview them, and what's great is they're playing 4 or 5 songs in between the interview back and forth. So it's not just like, hey, they're going to sit down and, talk for a little bit. So it's really interactive. And what I've been asking them is, what are you doing with this pandemic? And, I call it the great equalizer. They are in the same boat we are, which is we don't know what we're doing. Lindsey Buckingham, who I talked to a few days ago, was going to do a tour starting in February. And look what happened. We're in kind of a wait and see mode, but what I think we're finding is, we got to innovate. Sheryl Crow said, I said like, well, what are you doing differently? And she's like, well, I'm spending more time with my family, but I'm also playing a lot more guitar, right? And so these artists, when I don't, not many people realize this, but when you are on tour, you are playing the same thing every single night, right? You are, and you're looking for, and you're tired, and it's 2 a.m. when the show's done, and then you're getting on the bus, and then you're going to the next place, you're getting on a plane. There's not as much time to create, right? And you're surrounded by a band, so you don't necessarily have to play, right? So Sheryl Crow is like, hey, I'm playing a lot more guitar, and I'm getting back to my craft and my instrument, which was a silver lining for her. Of course, the next song that she did, she messed up a chord or two and then said, looks like I need to practice a little bit more. But honestly, that's what was fun about the interviews, is that we were just kind of sitting down and laughing and chatting and just being real.
Yeah, I think just like we're doing right now, that has been a hallmark that I've seen of this time, is that people are, because we're on Zoom so much, we are getting windows literally into people's homes. But then also I think people are opening themselves up to be a little bit more vulnerable about themselves, and they're maybe more willing to do things like that and give it a try on a song, that she might not have 100% polished, but that's kind of the ethos of this time right now, is that we're trying new things. And
well, and what's interesting too, you can't, on a Zoom call, it's really hard to have a band. Like Kenny Loggins had 2 people. I think Daryl's going to have 3. They're going to be social distance. There's multiple cameras. And so that'll be fun. But for the most part, these artists are by themselves or with one other person. And it really exposes who the artists are that love music and that would be doing this whether they were famous or not, right? And because they've got a fire in them, and a fire that needs to be heard, as Lindsey Buckingham said. So I think, again, it exposes us, and it makes this, equalizes all of us. We're all in the same boat, and so we can relate more. And what I like about Zoom and what we're doing here is, and with Lindsey Buckingham, we had 700 people on Zoom simultaneously. But because of the way that it worked, we all felt like we were sitting at his dinner room table with him, having a chat. And we all 700 people had front row seats. Wow. So that's good. We don't want this to be the only way that we communicate, but it is very fortunate, let's be honest, that we have technology that does what you and I are doing right now to keep us engaged and together. And then there are those bridge steps, like you're doing with the drive-in music program, that will at least keep that live stuff going as well. And I frankly can't wait to do it. I'm going to be sharing some stuff from the new album, and it's going to be a conversation with the audience. I'll have my percussionist Nate with me, and we're gonna actually go old school. We're gonna go back to the days when it was just Nate and I and me and a Spanish guitar, and probably 60% of the show is going to be just completely acoustic. And I think, and that's what people seem to, we normally in my show, I'll stop in the middle, send the band off, and Nate and I will do our thing for a couple of songs, and people love it. And I guess now's the time to do more of that.
Lean into that, dive into that while large groups close together are not the thing. Yeah, dive into that solo work. That's great. I'm looking forward to that. It sounds like it's going to be great, and really looking forward to having you here in just a few days. So Bryan, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Again, I really appreciate you taking these few minutes to talk. And for everyone else, there are still tickets available for Saturday. So please come on out. And Bryan's set starts at 5 p.m. on the 22nd. So don't miss it.
I hope to see folks there, and stay hydrated if it's hot, but we will definitely bring some great music and some stuff that I don't think people have heard before off the new album, and it's going to hit the radio probably in February or so, so this is a chance for a fun sneak peek.
Perfect. Thanks again so much. We'll see you soon.
You bet. Take care, Grace.
I'm here with Leslie Sypian, and we are talking about the Sypian Family Band, who is going to be performing this weekend at our second Drive-In Live concert. So Leslie, thank you for joining me. How are you today?
I am doing well, Grace. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Looking forward to this concert so much. And this is our second live event after a long drought, and I'm sure you are experiencing pretty much the same thing. What have your last few months looked like as a band?
Yes, we are experiencing, we're definitely missing it a lot. It's hard.
Yeah, so you're based in Berrien Springs, is that right?
Used to be. Actually, in Stevensville now. I am, and my husband and children. And then we all kind of live pretty much around the same area. So
Berrien County.
Berrien County.
And whose voice are we hearing from off screen?
That's my drummer and brother-in-law, Matthew Sypian.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, so your brother-in-law, it's called also the Sypian Family Band. So how did this get started, and how did your family decide to make this a thing?
So basically, I met the Sypian brothers, who had the Sypian Brothers Band, which consisted of the, so my husband is the eldest of 6 children, and that would be him, then Matthew, and then Jared Sypian. Jared used to play bass with us, found his way out, did something else, which is totally cool, and that's why we brought Mike Nelson in. But I just saw them on the stage of the livery in Benton Harbor, love the livery, and I was like, hey, those guys, I need to play with those guys. Because at the time, I was just kind of like a bleeding heart, like acoustic, like Bob Dylan singer at the time. And seemed like they needed a vocalist. So they invited me to band practice one day, and the rest is kind of history.
The rest is history. And now you're part of the family.
Exactly.
In the
Awesome.
family.
That's very cool. That's a fun origin story. Nice hybrid. Yeah, that's cool. So now there are all but 2 are actual family members, or all but 1?
Yeah, just me, Matt, and Nathan are
Okay.
related. We're the Sypians, and then Danny Dine and Mike Nelson are honorary Sypians. Yeah.
Your chosen family can be just as close as the ones
Absolutely.
that you're actually related to. That's cool. Yeah, so what kind of music do you do? I know you write some of your own music as a band. So what's your style, and what can people expect to hear from you on Saturday?
We are all original, all encompassing rock and roll music. A little bit of indie in there. There's soul. There's a lot, but it's all original music that we write, and we're definitely influenced by the British rock invasion, like the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, the Who, a lot of things. So, yeah, just rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today, and we really look forward to seeing you this weekend. Your set starts at 4 p.m. on Saturday, so people should definitely come out. They'll be right in the middle of the lineup between Dan Maxon and then Bryan Lubeck, so tickets are still available, and come check out the Sypian Family Band. So, again, we'll see you in a few days, and thanks for taking your time.
Of course. Thank you.
I am here with Dan Maxon, and he is going to be the first performer up this Saturday, August 22nd, at our second Drive-In Live concert. Dan, it's so good to see you. How are you?
Doing great. Great to be here, Grace. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, back working from home now, but it's, we're kind of in and out at the office, but really excited that we just had our first Drive-In concert this past weekend, and looking forward to the second one coming up in a few days.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. So what has live performance looked like for you over the last few months, if anything?
Yeah, at first, certainly not anything at all. I was actually in rehearsal for a play at the time at the Ghostlight Theater in Benton Harbor. And so we had gone to Zoom rehearsals. So that was kind of drip feeding me for a minute there. But I had to find other ways of expression. So I've just been doodling and drawing and posting that on Instagram. And that kind of gives me that slight pulse of social activity and performance, I guess. But I started working at the Lake House restaurant as a manager. So then when things get a little lower, like slower down, I can go out and play on the patio. So that's offered me a little bit of performance as well. And yeah, over at Blank's Tavern, I played there as well. So just a couple casual gigs. Certainly a slower summer than usual.
Yeah, that's for sure. For people who might not be familiar with you, can you tell people a little bit about what your musical style is and what they might expect to hear from you this weekend?
Oh, sure. Well, I started out on violin and then transferred over to guitar. So I have more of a classical foundation, I'm actually accidentally, I'm doing laundry right now, so this is like my hang around shirt. It's supposed to be a video game thing, not just like, hey, classical guitar. In any case, so I had that foundation, and I played classical guitar and learned that and at Lake Michigan College, hey, and elsewhere. So I have that, but I also take a lot of requests, like throughout the years, just whatever anybody wanted to hear. That was kind of my research as a live musician, is like, what do people want to hear? I'm catering to them when I'm at restaurants. So big bloated repertoire of Neil Young, Radiohead, going back to Etta James and like the Ink Spots, Lord. Just really anything that catches my ear. There's only two kinds of music, good and bad. And even that's kind of a fluctuating thing depending on who you're talking to. So I just have a lot of things. I articulate a lot in my right hand with the finger patterns and like classical stuff. So I like to do these instrumental interludes between singing verses. I really like to re-articulate verses using just instrumental. So there's a nice little blend of that. And then when it comes to things I've actually written, those are more, I guess a lot of artists can say this is just kind of a glorified diary, and just whatever comes out is fair game. Whatever I write, I tend not to worry too much about structure. It's more of just poems I've written without the intention of turning into songs, and then I just kind of string them together and see what sticks, and try not to put too much work into them at first, because I'm one of those people who will sit on something and never have it actually happen because I didn't put enough time into it, or it's not going to be as good as I want it to be. But with songwriting and art too, lately I've found that just getting it done and getting it out there is the most important first step. Yeah.
I think it's been interesting to see, and over the next couple of years, it'll be interesting to see what kind of art comes out of this period, what artists are doing with their mental energy right now, and whether that is music or visual arts, or photography, or or writing plays. Who knows what it'll be? But I think it'll be really interesting to see how this particular time is manifesting itself.
Absolutely.
Through art.
Definitely form a different strata layer in the geological surface of our society.
For sure, yeah, you'll be able to pick this out anywhere. Yeah. Like, wait, there were no breakup songs there for you. It was all about, it was all about just loneliness. And
right. It's like everybody was broken up. It's fine.
It's all about how much your kids are driving you up the wall, or whatever it is.
Exactly. All of that goodness. It's going to be a delicious soup. Mm-hmm. A little acrid too.
Of course. No, it's good. I think it's good. I think it's giving us all something different to think about, and different ways to process what's going on in our lives. So.
Something that's bringing us together. At least we're all dealing with one singular thing, and while it can feel really isolating and lonely, we're all doing that right now, and nobody's weird for feeling isolated and lonely.
Yeah, in some ways, I've never felt more connected to the local arts community right now, because you were one of the first artists to hop on to our remotely interested live stream series too, and so this has given us at the Mendel Center a chance to work with local artists more. And you have been one of the ones that we really wanted to make sure that we were getting out there and giving you a couple things to do as well. And
I was very happy to.
Locally, so thank you.
And I'll let you know that it was because of that and the copyright laws that inspired me to, oh no, I need to go and write a bunch of poems into songs. So this is my first actual foray into songwriting. So thank you.
Wow, I didn't realize that was your first, I didn't realize that was newer to you.
Real rush job.
Well, you pulled it off very well, and it was so much fun listening to you then. And I hope people will come back to see you this Saturday, August 22nd, and your set begins at 6 o'clock. So everyone should make sure to get out to the Mendel Center Drive-In Live concert between 5 and 6 to make sure you catch Dan. Dan, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Grace.
Awesome. We'll see you in a couple days.
See ya.